She texted me the photo at 2:17 a.m. A blurry shot, a dim restaurant, a hand, her hand, resting on a table lit by soft amber light. And on her finger, something I had never seen before. A ring, silver, new, shining like a confession she wasn't ready to say out loud. "Girls' weekend going great," she wrote. Too many emojis, too bright, too unlike her. I stared at that ring the way a surgeon stares at a tumor on a scan, silent, clinical, already knowing what it means long before the patient hears the words. The room felt smaller, quieter, like it was holding its breath with me. I didn't call her, didn't ask anything, didn't even blink. Instead, I placed the phone face down on the table and listened. To the hum of the fridge, to the ticking of the cheap wall clock, to the quiet, steady crumbling of something I had built with care. I knew what that ring meant, not because she told me, but because she didn't. Hours later, when she came home, masking her guilt with forced laughter and stories she didn't believe herself, she kept her left hand inside her coat pocket. I asked one question, calm, simple, precise. "Where'd you get the ring?" Her breath shook, her pupils shrank, her throat bobbed like she'd swallowed a lie too large to hide. We need to talk seriously," she whispered. I nodded once, but not the way she expected. "Actually," I said, "no need at all." And the room held its breath again. She didn't know I had already seen everything. The late-night messages, the hidden notifications, the sudden girls' trips that appeared out of nowhere. The hours she claimed she spent with her sister, even though her sister was in Dubai. I had watched the shifts, the small changes, the way she recoiled when I touched her, the way she smiled at her phone like it was giving her oxygen. The signs weren't loud. They were subtle, quiet, almost polite. Betrayal often is. I remember the first moment something felt wrong. She came home smelling like cologne she didn't own, a brand neither of us used, a scent that clung to her sweater like an unfamiliar hand. When I asked where she'd been, she answered too quickly. Reflex, not truth. And something inside me, something primitive, something instinctual, marked it. Not as pain, not even as betrayal, just data. Information to store, to analyze, to revisit later with a clearer mind. Then her work events increased. Her phone face down at all times. Her weekend availability shrank while her makeup routine doubled. But I kept quiet. Silence is underrated. People confess more to silence than to pressure. The day before her supposed girls' weekend, I watched her pack. Too excited, too nervous, too careful with choices she normally didn't think twice about. Her hands trembled once, just once, when she zipped her suitcase. She didn't see me notice. I didn't let her. I simply smiled, kissed her forehead, and told her to have fun. Inside, something cold settled into place. Not rage, not heartbreak, just understanding. Something was ending, and something else was waiting to begin. I didn't follow her. I didn't need to. Instead, I watched the patterns, the digital breadcrumbs she didn't realize she was leaving. Phone backups, GPS metadata on her photos, credit card transactions that contradicted her spoken timeline. Nothing was dramatic. Everything was calculated. The first major spike was a hotel charge under a man's name. The second was a florist delivery 2 weeks before she left. The third, her plane ticket to a city she claimed she wasn't visiting. I could have confronted her, but confrontation is emotional, impulse-driven, messy. I preferred precision. On the second night of her trip, I ran a cross-check through her cloud storage. She had forgotten one thing, one small, insignificant syncing folder. Inside it were candid shots of her laughing in the passenger seat of a car I didn't recognize. Then, photos of a man's hand resting on hers. And then the final one, a jewelry store display, taken too quickly, taken like she wanted to keep it secret, taken with a caption she quickly deleted, but not quickly enough. He said yes to the ring I wanted. Not the words of someone browsing, the words of someone choosing, the words of someone planning a future she expected me not to see. I didn't panic, didn't scream, didn't crumble. Instead, I quietly called a professional moving service and scheduled the full removal of her belongings for the day she returned. Every drawer, every closet, everything she left in our home stripped away like peeling off someone else's fingerprints from my life. By the time she landed back in town, her clothes were already boxed, her furniture wrapped and loaded, her jewelry sealed into carefully labeled containers. Everything she owned was gone from my apartment, except the one thing she came home wearing: the engagement ring. When she walked through the door, she tried to smile, tried to pretend her world hadn't changed, tried to tuck her left hand into her jacket, shielding the evidence of her double life. I didn't ask questions, I didn't need answers. I only pointed to the empty shelves, the stripped closet, the hollow spaces where her life used to be. She froze, her mouth opened but no sound came out. Shock rearranged her face in real time. Where's my stuff?" I looked at her hand, at the ring, at the symbol she had chosen over truth. "You made your decision," I said. Her breathing quickened, her eyes glistened with panic, not remorse. "It's not what you think. I can explain. Please, just let me." I held up a single sheet of paper, a printed photo, the one from her synced folder. Her hand, the ring, his hand on hers. Her knees almost buckled. "I don't understand," she whispered. But she did. We both knew she did. Her entire face collapsed inward, as if the truth had weight. And I watched her unravel, quietly, clinically, like I'd been preparing for this moment longer than she'd been preparing her lies. Her fiancé found out 2 hours later. Not from her, from me. I sent him a simple message. "You should know she's been living with me for 3 years. No embellishment, no insults, just the truth. Bare, clean, sharp." 15 minutes later, his shocked face appeared at my door. He didn't yell, he didn't accuse, he didn't even blink at first. He just stared at her, standing in my now empty living room, still wearing his ring like a question she couldn't answer. "You lived with him?" he asked, voice barely holding itself together. She reached for him. He stepped back. And the space between them became a canyon. His hands trembled, his jaw clenched, his eyes darted between us, between the life he thought he was building and the one she had kept hidden like a corpse in the basement. "I didn't know how to tell you," she stammered. He laughed once, short, hollow. "You didn't need to tell me," I said quietly. "You would have found out anyway." She spun toward me, betrayal in her eyes. Betrayal directed at me, as if exposing her truth was worse than living it. But I felt nothing, not anger, not pity, just closure. He walked away first. She tried to stop him, failed. Then she turned back to me. "What do I do now?" she whispered. I looked at her left hand. "At least the ring fits," I said. And then I walked past her, leaving her alone in the empty apartment she used to call home. I thought I would feel vindicated, relieved, freed. Instead, I felt something quieter, a clean break, a final severing of something that had been rotting for far longer than I wanted to admit. People think betrayal destroys you. It doesn't. It clarifies you. It sharpens your sight, cleans your wounds, strips away illusions you were too loyal to question. As I closed the door behind me for the last time, I realized something simple. This wasn't revenge. This was release. She had already left long before the ring appeared. She just didn't expect me to open the door wider. Truth has a way of rearranging everything, including people, especially people. And my final thought as I walked away, quiet, brutal, honest, was this: she wasn't the one who slipped away. I was.